Let's talk about tortured artists. What do you think of when you hear the name Vincent van Gogh? You probably think of the artist who was so mentally and emotionally unstable that he cut off his own ear and then painted a self-portrait of it. He was the epitome of the tortured artist, the person whose creativity is fueled by inner torment, fighting against the world, misunderstood and underappreciated by society, funneling all of this pain into their art, creating the most amazing masterpieces of their time. And thank God they didn't get treatment, because otherwise they might have lost their spark. Well, today we're going to talk about how that's all a load of bull. Hello, my name is Nell, and I have things to say about disability, chronic illness, mental health, and current events. If that sounds like something that interests you, I would love it if you would subscribe to the channel. Come back every second Wednesday when I upload my regular videos. Have your notifications turned on so you know if I upload an extra video when something strikes my interest. Let me know what you think of my videos in the comments section, and if you know of somebody who would benefit from or enjoy one of my videos or the whole channel, please feel free to share a link with them. I want to preface this entire video by making sure that you know that I am a creative person with significant mental health issues, and many years ago I faced the dilemma of treating my mental health issues and wondering if I was going to lose my creative spark. And this trope haunted me. I'd heard of the tortured artist trope, and I thought, all of these people, so many of them were mentally ill, and that's why they were so creative. And if I stop being mentally ill, maybe I won't be as creative. Maybe I won't be as gifted, and I put off treatment. So one of the reasons why I am filming this video is to keep dispelling this myth. For anyone else who thinks that if they get treated, they will lose their spark. When we think of the most tortured artists, the most famous tortured artists, we think of Vincent van Gogh, we think of Kurt Cobain, Edgar Allan Poe, Amy Winehouse, Edvard Munch, Sylvia Plath, Jason Pollock. We can clearly see signs of mental illness. These people weren't just tortured, they were sick, they were struggling, they're unwell. And even with that information, I've still seen opinions along the lines of, oh, but isn't it wonderful that Vincent van Gogh could make all this beautiful art with his sickness? That makes it all worth it. Does it? Is his pain and suffering worth it for his paintings? Would it not have been more worth it for him to have been slightly more well and happy and slightly less prolific in his art? The tortured artist trope romanticizes mental illness to an extreme. It implies that mental and emotional torment is a vital ingredient for creating the best art. This isn't a new concept. I mean, Aristotle claimed that no great genius was without a mixture of insanity, while Lord Byron stated that we of the craft are all crazy. In more measurable terms, it seems to hold up. In his paper, The Sylvia Plath Effect, psychologist James C. Kaufman conducted 2 studies in 2001. One analyzing the works of 1,629 writers, and the other 520 prominent women for signs of mental illness. And in both groups, the rates of mental illness were significantly higher in female poets than in any other group, even accounting for the usual gender difference. A 2012 study from the Journal of Psychiatric Research showed that authors are twice as likely to suffer from schizophrenia and bipolar disorder than control groups, as well as having higher rates of depression, anxiety, alcohol and drug abuse, and suicide risk. Creative professions in general saw an increase in the prevalence of bipolar disorder, although interestingly, there was no extra prevalence of other mental health issues in that general category. So, sure, many artists struggle with their mental health, but that isn't necessarily a good thing. And it doesn't necessarily mean that an artist's mental illness will lead to genius and creativity in their art. And to be honest, if someone doesn't have mental health issues and they start a career as an artist and experience years of low wages, job instability, lack of recognition, social anxiety, long hours, you would be hard-pressed to find someone who didn't develop mental health issues like anxiety and depression after all of that. I found an excellent statement in one of the articles I read for this video. It was from Far Out magazine. It said, "Mental illness is not a catalyst for creativity. It's the thing that stops people from functioning until they have fleeting moments of productivity to make art. Their ability to capitalize on those moments is what makes them talented, not the time they spend suffering. These people are creative geniuses, sure, but it's in spite of their mental illnesses, not because of them. They have to fight through that fog to create. Let's go back to Vincent van Gogh. You know his most famous work, The Starry Night? That wasn't painted in a fit of madness and depression. He didn't fuel his pain and his torment into that. That was painted while he was being treated for his mental illness in an asylum. Before his suicide, in one of the last letters he ever wrote, he said, "If I could have worked without this accursed disease, what things I might have done." In an article for The Conversation, Arash Javanbach, associate professor of psychiatry at the Wayne State University in Michigan, talks about the ways that mental health can be a stumbling block to creativity and creation itself. Think about it. When you're anxious, that anxiety often shifts your focus away from the things that you need and want to do, and instead you go into survival mode. You're facing danger, or what your brain perceives to be danger, and something like writing or painting or composing isn't going to be a priority. Anxiety can make a creative person afraid of failure or criticism, and creating a great work puts them at risk of those things, meaning that they might be less likely to start a project. Arash points out that an element of anxiety can help motivate a person. The last-minute anxiety of needing to get something done can be the final push you need to complete a project, but that's not about inspiration. That's not about creativity. That's about the hard slog of getting something done and the healthy buzz of minor anxiety that can push you to do it. Arash brings up Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Self-actualization, which involves creativity, spontaneity, and a potential, the building blocks of great art, is up the top, meaning that it's the most difficult need to satisfy. And it's easier to satisfy it if the ones below it, the consecutive building blocks of physiological needs, safety and security, love and belonging, and self-esteem, are satisfied first. Mental illness can severely disrupt a person's ability to satisfy those other needs. Depression can make it difficult for a person to experience self-esteem, to feel connected to others, to have stability in their employment. It can even affect their physiological needs by making it a struggle to be motivated enough to eat, to shower, to get dressed. Conditions like schizophrenia, bipolar, or forms of psychosis can lead a person to be socially isolated and struggle with stability in employment and housing. This isn't fertile ground for creativity. These conditions aren't blessings for a creative mind. One of the biggest struggles for creative people with mental health issues is the question of treatment. If I get treatment, will I lose my creativity? That's not a question just for the script of this video. That is the exact question I asked my psychiatrist when he suggested medicating me for my paranoid psychosis. Would I still have my spark if I didn't hear the voices and see the colors anymore? And again, when I was going to try antidepressants, I was afraid. My poetry and my songs were sad and melancholy. What if antidepressants cured me and I was no longer sad? And I could no longer write? Did I want to be cured if it meant I couldn't create? But my psychiatrist pointed out to me that if I didn't take medicine, I wouldn't be around to create anything at all, melancholy or not, so I might as well just take my chances. And it took time for me to adjust, because being more well made me see the world differently. It made me see more of the world, and that meant that I could draw from more of it. I wasn't so focused on survival. I didn't have to wait for inspiration to strike. I could strike inspiration like a match myself. I have been more creatively prolific since being treated for my mental illness than I was before being treated for my depression, my anxiety, my OCD, my paranoid psychosis, and my dissociative identity disorder. And now I enjoy creating. It's not a painful form of therapy like crying till I heave or picking a scab, which is what it sometimes felt like. Sometimes it felt like a vomit where I couldn't hold it back. Now I create with purpose because my mind is clear enough to feel purpose. Maybe those of us with mental health issues are drawn to art. because we need an extra way to express ourselves, a way that goes beyond words, a way that goes deeper than mere conversation. But our mental illness isn't what makes us good at it. We fight against our mental health to be able to create, even when it is pulling us down. That makes us brave, that makes us warriors, but it doesn't make us creative geniuses. And I sometimes wonder what some of these tortured artists could have done if they'd been able to have clearer minds. Maybe they would have created less. Maybe we would have never heard of them, but maybe they would have been happy. Don't be afraid of losing your spark by getting treatment. Treatment can be your way of harnessing it so that you can finally get the most of it without illness holding you back. And you can also enjoy life on a much deeper level. You get more of a spark, creative or not. We need to do away with this trope. I remember reading one of these articles and it said, "Happy writes vanilla." Meaning that if you're happy, you write boring. I don't think so. I don't think so. I'm recording an album right now, and I have enough content for another album after this one. And my songs are beautiful. And I can write with purpose. I can sit down and work on a song. I wasn't able to work. I had to just write when it hit me. And I could not harness it before, and now I can because I am clear. I am clear and powerful because I have control instead of my creativity controlling me. Thank you so much for listening and for learning with me. I hope this has been helpful if this is something you struggle with. And let me know your experiences with creativity and treatment in the comments. Much love to you all, and bless.